Welcome back. I self-injured for at least 20 years of my life in different ways, to different degrees, for different reasons, at different times. I cannot name a single response that would have worked for me throughout that whole experience. There is no one-size-fits-all blueprint intervention that's helpful for everybody that self-injures. There are, however, some fairly constant themes, and that's true in my experiences and backed up by research. And those constant themes would be things like kindness and compassion. It would be acceptance. It would be validation and recognition. Support, be that emotional or practical, and choice, information, power and control. So basically, I felt most supported. I had the most positive experience in services where I felt cared about, where I felt like my distress was recognised and validated or valued, respected. Where I didn't feel that I was being subject to judgment or hostility. Where I was supported emotionally and practically in ways that were centered around me as a unique individual. And services where I felt that I had control and choice, both in terms of the support that I was given and in terms of the sense that I made of my distress and the story that I was able to construct about why I self-injured, what it was about, and what was going on for me. True that sadly I did encounter a fair few negative responses in a fair range of services. So I was subject to negativity and judgments and hostility. I used services that were sometimes very dogmatic, where control and choices were very limited, or services that were simply ill-resourced or ill-informed. But the opposite was also true. And even in the most ill-resourced service, I could still have positive experiences with individual members of staff. I'm thinking about two right now, Vera and Edna, who were both nursing auxiliaries, one that I encountered on a medical ward when I was being treated, and another on a psychiatric ward when I was detained. What marked those two women out was not big long lists of qualifications. It was humanity. It was the fact that they were kind and they compassionate. They made me feel liked and cared about and understood. They made me feel like I was worth spending time with and worth making an effort to engage with, even when it was difficult. I also really valued peer support, so the support of other people with personal experience of self-injury, where there was a kind of taken for granted basic level of understanding and empathy and respect and control. I had a really positive experience of therapy and counselling. I've accessed different kinds of therapy and counselling over the years. And what I found particularly important about that, beyond the very important relationship with the therapist, has been the support that I've had to develop a more positive narrative about myself, moving from a childhood narrative in which I was ashamed and wrong and bad, and the adult narrative I was handed on the wards where I was mad or personality disordered, towards a narrative that's felt much more kind of nuanced and positive for me. A story about myself in which I understand myself to have survived some really difficult experiences and to have survived them in the best way that I could at the time. And in understanding that, to arrive at a greater sense of choice and control, kind of investment in myself and in my future. And then finally, supported accommodation. I was very lucky, lived in supported accommodation for a number of years, where I got practical support, I got emotional support, I got a safe, held space, I got support with things like benefits, a place in which I could move out into the world on my own terms. It's a really nice experience for me to talk about helpful service responses because I think it's a very powerful reminder that although sometimes services get it wrong, sometimes very wrong, there's huge potential for services and for individuals within every service to make a huge difference to the lives of people who self-injure. Um, Sometimes to be transformative in helping people find a way forward.